الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا اللهم بما علمتنا وزدنا الله إنك ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. أما بعد. This is our continuation of our class in Bulugh Al-Maram, the review of the chapter of Al-Tahara. And we left off, we were reviewing, because we have a new audience now, we want to just explain what we're doing here. We're reviewing the book of Tahara from Bulugh Al-Maram. Bulugh Al-Maram is a book of fiqh, classical book by Al-Imam Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar rahimahullah. And it's a book of ahadith separated into chapters. And it begins with the chapter of Tahara. Tahara, purification. And specifically, purification of how we purify ourselves from filth and from impure states like al-hadath, like al-hadath al-asghar wal-hadath al-akbar, meaning from a person uses the restroom, so he has to make purification. And how we make purification, in essence, with the water. That's why he started in the chapter of Tahara with the book of the waters, the water. And we talked previously about the matter that the water has to be, the water in origin is pure. Al-ma' tahur. Allah said, ma'an tahura. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَاءً طَهُورًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he sent down the pure water. And that's the origin in the water. That all the water, whether you find it in the ocean or in the lakes or in the rivers or in the creeks or anywhere, it's pure. Unless it is changed in one of three characteristics by mixing with impurity. Impurity like filth, like urine, or like feces, or things of impurity. If those things mix with the water and it changes, either by its smell or its taste or its color, one of these three, it starts to smell like urine because urine has mixed in the water, or it has a taste of urine, or it has the color of urine. One of these three things changes, then it is no longer pure. It's no longer water pure. We cannot use it to make wudu. We cannot drink it, of course, because now the ruling of urine. So and so on. That's an example. So we took the hadith regarding that matter, and we also took the hadith regarding the matter of using water which is remaining after someone makes wudu, the remaining water. We talked about that the water that's remaining after a person makes wudu, that water we can use, because the Prophet ﷺ كان يغتسل بفضل ميمونة رضي الله عنها. Hadith the author brought, the Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu from the remaining, the water which his wife Maymunah al-Mu'mineen radiallahu anha, that she had used. We explained last time that means that she had scooped the water. There was a big container, okay, and she had scooped the water from there to make her ghusl from janaba. The issue was she was in janaba, and so she scooped the water. That water which is remaining, because maybe she had like a small cup by which she would pour on herself, okay, she did not actually go into the container, but she scooped out. So that water which is remaining is pure, okay. The fact, why? Because the Prophet ﷺ came afterwards and he took a bath with that water. So that is one thing. And vice versa. If the man takes a bath by scooping from a big tub to himself, the remaining water, his wife can come and take a bath with it. And rather, they can take a bath together, as was reported as well. And this is sunnah. You can do so. Okay? And we mentioned also the etiquettes also of the water is that a person must not, is prohibited to urinate in standing water. Standing water. Because this is, the water does not flow. Okay? And this is something which, if a person does it one time, and other person does it, another person does it, the water is standing, it's not moving, it's not flowing. So if it happens repeatedly that several people or the same person again urinates into the standing water, it will become impure because it's. And we mentioned also if the water is running like a river, then if a person urinates in it, then it does not make it impure. Okay, it's technically allowed, like in a running water, because the water will flow, unless there's someone downstream that's going to use your water or use that water downstream. Then you should not, because he's going to pick up that water, perhaps picking up the urine that person has urinated upstream. So this is another issue related to the water and what would perhaps make it impure or unappealing to the people. And from that also is not to take a bath. We mentioned last time of janaba, from impurity, sexual impurity, not to take a bath in the standing water. Okay? Because this is, it's going to have some, maybe sweat from the person comes from it, meaning he should not go into the water. Like there's a lake or a pool. Okay? A lake or that standing water does not flow. If he takes a bath in it, then some of the sweat and stuff, secretions from his body will go into the water. And then someone else may come later, he wants to drink from this water. He'll be disgusted by that, and it will be harming him and harming him in that matter, even if it's not impure, but he'll be harmed by that action. Now, that's where we left off. Now we're going to go into what's related to purifying the water, or purifying the vessel which the dog has licked from. هذا هو الحديث التاسع في باب المياه. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: طهور إناء أحدكم إذا ولغ فيه الكلب أن يغسله 7 مرات أولاهن بالتراب. أخرجه مسلم وكذلك البخاري، فالحديث متفق عليه. وفي لفظ له فليرقه، وللترمذي أخراهن أو أولاهن. So this hadith is reported by Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said the purification of the vessel of one of you, when a dog licks it, when the dog drinks, literally the dog drinks from it, purifying that vessel by washing it 7 times. أولاهن بالتراب, the first washing with dirt. Reported by Bukhari and Muslim. And so here we're talking about a specific matter related to this chapter, how in that the water also must be poured out. Although the wording is not found in an authentic hadith, but if one has to cleanse the vessel, then more so the water has become filthy. If the vessel has become filthy from the dog licking in the water, drinking from the water, then the water also has become filthy. So a person must pour the water out. This is why he brought the hadith in the chapter. And so, how does one then, after pouring the water out that the dog has licked in this vessel, how does he proceed to clean this vessel? He cleans it with the dirt and the water. The dirt is one of uh, the matters of purification. Okay, it is a way to purify. Uh, and this هو الشرب بأطراف اللسان. The dog, what does it do? He licks with his tongue. He kind of like لسانه كالملعقة. لسانه كالملعقة. His tongue becomes like a spoon, and he puts it in, like this, his tongue, and he laps up, licks up the water like this with his tongue reversed backwards. Okay, so this is what. So we pick up. رحمه الله لك الخيار بين ثلاثة أمور: إما أن تغسله أولا بالماء ثم تذر عليه التراب، أو أن تذر التراب عليه ثم تصب عليه الماء، أو تخلط التراب بالماء ثم تصبه على الإناء، يعني تمزج الماء بالتراب. يعني المقصود تخلط أو تذر التراب بالماء، وأول الغسلة الأولى تكون بالمخلوط بالماء والتراب، أما الغسلات الباقية فتكون بالماء مفردا، والجملة 7 غسلات. So here, the first one, what does it mean, the first one with dirt? It means, the Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, that you mix the dirt with the water, okay? In some way, either you put the dirt first and then pour water, or vice versa, put some water and dirt. The point is, the first washing is with the mixture of dirt and water, okay? And then you wash 6 more times just with water, total of 7. This is the purification of that vessel. Because why? Why do we have to purify it? What's the we benefit from this? That لعاب الكلب نجس. لعاب الكلب نجس. لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال طهوري إناء أحدكم. والطهور بمعنى التطهير. والتطهير لا يكون إلا عن حدث أو نجس. لا يؤتى أو لا يطلب بالتطهير إلا عند الحدث أو عند النجس، عند النجاسة. وهنا يتعين النجاسة لأنه ليس هناك حدث، نتكلم عن الإناء، وإنما حصل النجاسة، ولذلك وجب التطهير. So what does it mean? What's the first benefit we gain from this is that the saliva of the dog is filthy, is impure, just as هو نجاسة مغلظة, the most impure of the impure things, because it has to be washed in this excessive way, or in this detailed way, which has not been reported for any other najasa, not for urine, not for feces, only for the saliva of the dog. So this shows the saliva of the dog is very filthy, because we have to wash it in this detailed manner. Okay? And so this is the process, and that's the benefit, number 1, of this hadith. And why do في رواية الترمذي أخراهن أو أولاهن هنا يقول الشيخ الثمين للشك، شك الراوي، شك في الحديث هل ورد أخراهن أي آخر الغسلات أو أولاها. وصحيح لما نرجع إلى حديث مسلم أنه أولاهن لا أخراهن، وهذا معقول المعنى، لأن إذا كنا نغسل آخر غسلات بالتراب يحتاج إذن إلى تنظيف هذا التراب بالغسلات أخرى، ولم يرد في الحديث إلا 7 أو 8 في رواية. فالشاهد أن الغسلة الأولى تكون بالتراب. So no doubt that the first washing has to be with the dirt. Okay, some scholars understood from other hadith that the last one would be with dirt, first 6 with water and the last one with dirt, but that doesn't fit with the meaning that we can comprehend, nor does it fit with the most authentic narration, which is in Sahih Muslim. The most authentic wording is in Sahih Muslim. In the Tirmidhi, it says otherwise. Could be that it's a doubtful. The narrator has a doubt. Was it the first washing with dirt or the last? So we refer that doubt back to the narration of Muslim. Sahih Muslim is the first. And what's the point of the dirt? Some scholars mention some benefits regarding that. يعني يقولون يكون التراب في الأولى ليباشر لعاب الكلب الذي قرر الأطباء أن فيه دودة لا يزيلها إلا التراب. أولا لأن التراب يندمج مع اللعاب فيسحب اللعاب، يعني يسحب اللعاب الملتصقة بجدران الإناء. فالمقصود من التراب أنه يعني يسحب اللعاب من عند جدار الإناء. المقصود من التطهير هنا تطهير الإناء. فالتراب يسحب بأنه يندمج مع اللعاب فيسحب اللعاب من عند الجدار، بخلاف لو أنه الإنسان أمر الماء بجدار الإناء باليد أو بغير اليد، فإن ذلك لا يفيد هذا المعنى باليد أو بالماء مجردا. So what is the benefit of the dirt? Some scholars say that the benefit is, and this is amr ghaybi. First of all, this is the amr ghaybi, that first of all that we don't know the ultimate wisdom of it, because this is something ta'abbudi, that Allah told us to do it. First time with dirt, we do it. But there's no harm to look at some research by which there is something by which نستأنس بالبحوث لا نستدل بهذه البحوث والاكتشافات، لكن لا بأس أن الإنسان يستأنس بها. The person can gain some consolation, you could say, or some additional benefit from it, but we don't rely upon the scientific evidences because we have the wahi, we have the Quran and Sunnah. But these additional evidences or research of the researchers gives us some additional, you could say, comfort. Yes, comfort. Gives us some comfort to the matter, which even if we didn't have it, we would still have the certainty of the matter, but it gives us something additional. And there's nothing wrong with that. حتى لما جاء يهودي إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وذكر ما وجد عند التوراة من أن الله سبحانه وتعالى جعل يعني الأراضين على أصبع والجبال على أصبع والمخلوقات على أصابع الرحمن جل وعلا. فالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ضحك من قوله استئناسا بقوله لا مستدلا به، لأن هذا ما جاء عند التوراة كان موافقا لما عند القرآن، لما في القرآن. So, for example, there was one time a Jew, he mentioned to the Prophet ﷺ that in the Old Testament of Torah, they find that it's written that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He grasps the heavens and the creations in his hand, on his fingers, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he agreed with his information, and he smiled in response, because this was in correlation with what he had in the Quran, which is revealed from Allah. So here is what I'm saying that for is because it's additional matter that brings a comfort that yes, this is in confirmation with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed. But even if we didn't have that information, we still have the Quran. Okay, we don't rely upon it, but there's nothing wrong to see that additional, information that confirms that matter. So here, what we're saying is the matter the doctors say or the researchers say that the whatever is of harm from the saliva of the dog, and it pulls it away from the walls of the vessel and makes it easier to wash thereby with water in the next three washes. So the first one should be with dirt, because the more you pull off that which is harmful, it could be a parasite, some sort of germ that is specific to the saliva of the dog. It will pull that harmful substance away from the wall of the vessel and pull it away, by which you can then proceed to wash it more easily in the upcoming washes. So this is something which is mentioned. ولا شك أن هذا من دلائل النبوة ومعجزات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، لأنه ما كان عنده مختبرات ولا تحاليل ليكتشف عن هذه الأمور إلا عن وحي من الرحمن سبحانه وتعالى. And no doubt that this is a sign of prophethood. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was informed of this. It's not that he could research it or come to know it by any science, which he was not prevalent at that time. It was only by revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, now what about the hadith mentioned specifically about the saliva of the dog? What about the other parts of the dog? Are they najis or not? And of course, we talk about the dog which is, of course, we're not allowed to have a dog, okay, except for specific reasons. This is besides the topic of the hadith, but just so we know, we're not implying that we're allowed to have dogs. Generally, dogs we only have for one of few reasons. Prophet ﷺ said, إما للماشية وإما للحرث وإما للصيد. وقاس بعض العلماء على ذلك الحراسة للبيت، وإنما يكون ذلك في البادية كما يقول الشيخ ابن تيمين، ما يكون في المدن، لأنه ما في حاجة لحراسة الكلب في المدن، إنما يتطلب ذلك عند البادية لما يكون إنسان في وحشة ويخاف من السرقة ومن اللص، فحين ذاك يشرع له أن يقتني الكلب الحراسة. So when we say the dog, it's only allowed the dog for certain reasons, only for hunting or for guarding the crops or for guarding the animals. Person's a shepherd, he wants to guard his sheep from the wolf, he has a dog. He wants to guard his crops from the anything that will come to harm it, he has a dog. He wants to hunt, but it's not allowed to have a dog as a pet, and it's not allowed to have a dog in the cities generally. Even if a person says, I want to have a guard dog, not in the cities. This would be, as Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he said this would be like if you live in the desert or in the very farmland away from people, then you may be afraid of being robbed, so you have a dog. But not in the city. There's no benefit of that because you have neighbors already around you. and you would not be in danger as such. So anyway, so what about the other parts of the dog? Meaning the hair of the dog and the limbs of the dog. Are they najis also? There's difference of opinion. في خلاف. Now this is important to know because a person may come across a dog of his neighbor or the like, and the dog rubs against him. He doesn't lick him. If he licks him, we have to wash. He has to wash 7 times, first with dirt, because the dog saliva is najis. But what if he just rubs against him? There's difference of opinion. Some scholars say al-kalb najasatuhu ayniyah, ذاتها ناجسة. لكن فيه خلاف. يقول بعض أهل العلم أن سائر بدنه من الأعضاء والأشعار الظاهر والأظهر أنها طاهرة. وهذا اختيار شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله، أن شعور وأعضاء الكلب طاهر، وإنما يكون ريقه نجس بالنص. هذا الحديث حديث أبي هريرة. ليش؟ لأن الأصل في الأشياء الحل والطهارة. الأصل في الأشياء والمخلوقات الطهارة والحل. وما نستطيع أن نحكم بنجاسة الشيء وننقل من هذا الأصل إلا بدليل. والأصل في كل الأشياء كما بينه الله سبحانه وتعالى أنه سخر لنا ما في السماوات والأرض جميعا. فكل هذه الأمور طاهرة إلا ما خصه الدليل بأنه نجس. So here, what do we say? The origin is, as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said that the origin in the matters is that it's pure. Everything is pure. This cloth is pure. This cup is pure. The dog is pure. Okay? Unless we have a proof. And what we have a proof for? Only the saliva. The hadith specifically says when the dog licks. It didn't say when the dog fur comes into the water. It didn't say when the dog dips into the stream. No. It said when the dog licks the water. So this is the only, we can remove ourselves from the origin, which is everything is pure, except the saliva, because we have a text, we have a hadith, so by which we can say the saliva is dirty, is impure. So this is the opinion of some scholars mentioned, like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. So here then another issue of benefit from this hadith. أن الأصل في تطهير الإناء أنه يكون بالتراب لا بالصابون. الصابون قد يستعمل عند عدم وجود التراب، لكن لا يذهب إلى الصابون. يقول بعض أهل العلم فيه خلاف. So we have to use dirt. Can we use soap instead to clean? This is أمر تعبدي. This is a matter of worship. So we have to go by the wording of the hadith that we use the dirt. Okay, unless a person doesn't have dirt available, then he could use a substitute. But a person cannot use soap and go away from the dirt when it's available. Okay, because there's a matter of unseen. We don't know all the wisdom from it. Just like some researchers have gathered some benefit from the dirt, specifically dirt. They say not only does it, as we said, soak up the saliva and pull it. Some scholars say it has, or some researchers say it has like an antibiotic or something, a substance that will kill that worm, like a tapeworm that's found in the saliva of the dog. So that cleansing substance would not be in soap. It is something specific to dirt. So we should use the dirt in this matter as has been outlined in the hadith. Also, those are the main benefits from the hadith. Okay, when we say the dog is not filthy, meaning the hair of the dog, okay, this doesn't mean the person should go and play with the dog. No, a person should be careful, because if he's playing with the dog, the dog may end up licking him, and very quickly, the lick will come. So, but we're saying if it happened without your intending, a dog rubs against you, then the hair does not have the same ruling as the saliva. That's the point. Now, when we say that the dog, the hair is pure, does that mean that we're allowed to eat the dog? No, we're not allowed to eat the dog. Why? It's prohibited to eat for another reason. Even amongst the scholars who say it's pure, okay, that is not a filthy animal, only saliva. On that opinion, why would we still not be allowed to eat the dog? Because it hunts. Because there's another proof of prohibition of animals. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam naha an kulli dhi nabin min as-siba. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he forbade that we should eat anything that is a predator with the fangs, that he hunts with the teeth, with the fangs. And the dogs do that, obviously. They are hunting animals. So we're not allowed to eat anything that hunts with the fangs. Okay? From the birds, hunting birds, and so on. And that's a different chapter of prohibited animals, but that's why it's not allowed to eat, although on that opinion that it's a pure animal otherwise. So we'll take one more hadith. أنت أذان العشاء 55. We'll take one more hadith inshallah. عن أبي قتادة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في الهرة إنها ليست بنجس إنما هي من الطوافين عليكم. قتادة رضي الله عنه, and also from Aisha رضي الله عنها, Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said about the cat. Now this hadith about the cat. He said, it is not impure. Rather, it is from those which frequent you and are always mixing with you. Tawafin. They frequent your company. They're companions and frequent your homes and your places. This hadith authentic. So, the reason this hadith was mentioned, because of the saliva of the dog, of the cat. The saliva of the cat, many times the cat will come and eat from the vessels of the human being in the home, realizing or with him realizing. It can happen without his knowledge. So, what is the ruling? So the ruling is that إنها ليست بنجس, the cat is not impure. Okay. لمشقة التحرز من سؤر الهرة. العلة ما هي؟ مشقة التحرز من هذا الحيوان ومن سؤرها. السؤر بمعنى بقية الأكل والشرب المخلوط بلعاب الحيوان أو الذي شرب منه. يطلق على بقية الماء والشراب الذي خالطه لعاب من شرب منه. So what is the wording? The scholars mentioned that is su'ur. Su'ur is the remaining, because when the cat drinks from the vessel, there's going to be remaining of the saliva of the cat. Okay? And this is the word generally applies. You say the same about the previous hadith about the dog. Yaligu. Bulugh al-Kalb, when the dog drinks from the vessel, it leaves some remnant of the saliva. That's called su'ur, or the remainder of the water. The remainder, I'm sorry, of the water of that which he drank from, that has mixed in it something of the saliva. So what is the ruling of that? We mentioned it's pure for the cat, not pure for the dog. Okay? Pure. And as we mentioned, the reason is because it's very difficult. When the cats live with us, it's very difficult to prevent or to be to keep away from that matter. You cannot prevent it. Something's going to happen, and if you always have to pour over the vessels that have been left open because a cat may have drank from it, or you see a cat drinking from it, this would be difficult. And the القاعدة تقول أن المشقة تجلب التيسير. المشقة تجلب التيسير. This is the principle in Islam, and from the beauty of the religion is that anything that is difficult and is almost like a very, very hardship, any hardship on the person, then the legislation, the Quran and the Sunnah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided ease in that matter. So this is an example of that principle. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. وقال تعالى وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. And so as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, that He wants for us easiness and He does not want for us difficulty. This would be a difficulty. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made ease in this legislation for such difficulties. And this is not specific in general animals, even though we're not allowed to eat. The cat we're not allowed to eat. Because why? The same reason for the dog. أنه يحرم يعني أكل كل ذي ناب من السباع والهرة من السباع يعني يفترس بنيابها تفترس بنيابها. The cat, it hunts with the fangs. It has fangs, it hunts. Like it hunts the mice. Okay, so it's a hunter. We're not allowed to eat the hunting animals, those that hunt with fangs. So it applies to all hunting animals that the saliva of it, those that frequent our locales, it's pure. It's pure. This is based upon some evidences, and we'll inshallah mention that. First of all, you can categorize the animals into categories. Okay, just to summarize this, what we've talked about. First category, or we say the origin, al-aslu fil ashya wal makhluqat at-tahara illa ma yakhussuhu ad-dalil. The origin in all the animals, we said, is that they're pure. Okay, except that which we have proof. Okay, القسم الأول كل حيوان مأكول اللحم فهو طاهر. Any animal that we're allowed to eat, like sheep, like goats, like cows, then all of it is pure. The animal is pure. When we say all of it, we mean all of it. Even, when it's alive, we're saying. Even the urine and the feces, لا يعني أنه يشرع أكله. It doesn't mean that we're allowed to eat. No, it just means that if it comes to our contact, we step on the urine of a sheep, okay, or the droppings of the sheep. Do we have to wash it off before we can pray in those shoes? No, we don't. If it comes on our clothing, if we're in the farm, comes on our clothing, the urine or the droppings of the sheep, or the sweat, or the saliva, or those things, or the hairs. If the hair gets on us, we don't have to wash that off. We can pray with those things on our clothing or on our body. That's the benefit. Okay. فكيف بغير مأكول اللحم Okay, what about those things which we are not allowed to eat? Like, for example, the cat and the dog, or say the cat and the animals, like those wolves, lions, tigers, okay, predators, hunt with fangs. We're not allowed to eat those animals. غير مأكول اللحم. We're not allowed to eat. What about the rest of the animal? What did we say before? That the origin in the things أكل اللحم لحم السباع ولم يتعرض بسؤر السباع ولا بشعور السباع أشعارها ولا عرقها. It's not mentioned about the hairs of these animals which are alive. We're saying the lion, the tiger, and the such, and the cat. Okay, we're not mentioned to us. What about the hair and the saliva of these things? So the origin is they're pure. Okay, we also have additional evidence, which is أثر عن عمر رضي الله عنه أنه خرج في ركب فيهم عمرو بن العاص حتى وردوا حوضا فقال عمرو يا صاحب الحوض هل ترد حوضك السباع فقال عمر رضي الله عنه يا صاحب الحوض لا تخبرنا فإن على السباع وترد علينا. هذا أثر، ولكن يستدل به أن فهم عمر أن سؤر السباع طاهر. قال لا بأس إننا نرد على السباع وترد علينا. هذا يشبه ما في حديث الهرة من الطوافين علينا. Okay, so what is the benefit? The proof, the saliva of all the predatory animals. Okay, and that likewise the sweat and the hairs, pure. Okay, when they're alive. So if we come across, for example, what is a practical example? We go camping, okay, and we know there's maybe some wolves, in the area or something has been here, okay, which is a predatory animal, foxes and the like, and we know that they drink from this stream. We know that they drink. We see them drinking from this stream or this pond. Does that make it impure? The fact that they drink from the pond? Okay, we're not allowed to eat these foxes because they're predatory animals. But is the saliva impure? Umar radiallahu anh said no, because they are those which frequent ويشق التحرز من سؤرها. The إلا واحد الحكم يدور مع الإلا عدما ووجودا. Basically, the ruling is the same. What's the difficulty? The same difficulty applies as with the cat. That you're going to come across these bodies of water, and you know that the animals are drinking from these waters, okay, and frequenting these areas. So it's difficult to stay away from these and coming in contact with the saliva or the remnants of their drinking. So the same rule as applies to the cat. Okay. Another evidence, hadith عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مرفوعا سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنا أتوضأ بما أفضلت الخمر قال نعم وبما أفضلت السباع كلها. وهذا الحديث صححه وقال الإمام البيهقي له أسانيد إذا ضم بعضها إلى بعض كانت قوية. Another narration that some scholars view as evidence, the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the predatory animals. When they drink from an area, are we allowed to, is it pure, the remnants of their drink? He said yes. Yes, all predatory animals. So going back, we said the categories of the animals, the first category, that which we are allowed to eat. Okay? That animal, all of it's pure in its life, the sweat, the hair, the remnants of the drink, everything. because we're allowed to eat it. Even the feces, we don't eat it, but if we touch it, we don't become filthy in the urine. There are, of course, the urine of the camel. We know there's a hadith. It's pure. Fi shifa. The urine of the camel. This is additional proof, that the urine of the camel is pure. The second category, the animals which we're not allowed to eat. Okay, the meat is impure. Anything that's internal is impure. The blood of such animals, the meat of the animals, the feces and the urine. Animals which we're not allowed to eat, like what? Domesticated donkeys, like lions, tigers, cats, dogs. Okay, the feces, the droppings, and the urine of these animals is impure. Okay, but the rest is pure. The rest is pure based upon these narrations which we just mentioned. Okay, exclude from that the dog. The dog is special. لأن ورد فيه نص الكلب يخص ماذا لعابه ريقه نجس بدليل حديث أبي هريرة. The dog is a special category because we have a hadith that says the leftover of the drink, the saliva of the dog is impure. So it's different than all other predatory animals. Okay, you see, we have generally all predatory animals we mentioned. Specific and excluded from that is the dog. The saliva is impure, but the rest is pure, as we mentioned previously. So that's just a summary of the animals and what is regarded pure or impure from them. And you could say even the mouse. A mouse, الفأرة يعني أقرب من أن يكون من الطوافين علينا في بعض البيوت. في بعض المناطق قد لا يخلو بيت من فأرة. يعني this is the mouse is more frequenting some homes, okay, in some places. So the ruling was what in the hadith Abi Qatada, this one, الإلة يعني مشقة التحرز منها لأنها من الطوافين علينا. The reason why the cat's saliva is pure in such animals which frequent us is because it's hard to refrain from it. It's hard to stay away from it. They're living with us. You can't keep away from mixing with these remnants of these animals. Same would apply to the mouse. Although the mouse is غير مأكول اللحم, we're not allowed to eat mice, okay? But nonetheless, anything that's remnants of what they touch or such is pure. And we're talking only the life, okay? When they die, it's different. This will come to in later hadith. حكم الميتة حكم الميتة من لحمها وشعرها وعظمها إلى آخره. There's different now of the dead animal. That has different rulings. We'll come to that inshallah in other chapters related to this. ونكتفي بهذا القدر والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وجزاكم الله خيرا أجمعين. Any questions on this part?
Yeah, maybe I might ask if again, it's hard to reconcile things. If I look Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, outlines the things that are forbidden for food, and the hadith came and brings in a whole lot more animals than the Quran mentions. How do I put those two together?
As far as this is, there's it's not meant to be either. It's not meant to be exclusive. The ayat of prohibition is meant to be, or the many places, it's mentioned the most common things. the most common things, but not mention all the things. It's not meant to be, comprehensive, the verse. So, for example, there's mentioned the one whose blood is forbidden, or you could say the 7 destructive sins, is mentioned 7, okay, to mention the most famous of the sins. But there's more than that. There's other sins that are also very destructive sins, but they're mentioned 7 altogether. For example, Asharatul Mubasharina bil Jannah. Asharatul Mubasharina bil Jannah, the 10 is mentioned all in one hadith, were given glad tidings of paradise. That they're going to be, we know from the hadith that they'll enter paradise. Does that mean there's only 10? Right? No. It's just that these are mentioned all in one hadith, and they're the most famous of them. Okay? So similarly, in the Quran, it mentions, the حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةُ وَالدَّمُ وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ. Okay? These are mentioned. It could be another possibility, is scholars say, it could be that at that time these were the prohibited things. As we know, the legislation came in steps. Initially some things were legislated, like first of all, the prayer was legislated before other things, before even the prohibitions of things were in steps. So similarly, you could say at the time of the revelation of this ayah, that these things were prohibited and other things were prohibited later. That could be also an explanation, but it's not intended by a lot of the text. It's not intended comprehensiveness. It's not intended that these are the only things mentioned, right? That are applied. This ruling applies to. But these are the most famous ones, you could say. This happens a lot, So because the Quran is not meant to have everything, because Allah said that He sent down the Quran. وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. There has to be sunnah, because Allah said in the Quran there's sunnah. أَطِيعُ اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُ الرَّسُولَ. You cannot comprise all of the religion in its details in the Quran, but jumlatan la tafsila. Generally, everything's in the Quran. The Quran says pray, but how to pray? It's not, the details are not there, because it's not meant for that purpose. It's meant to give generality in many things. Some things are very specific in the Quran, right? But a lot of things are left general to be explained in the Sunnah. That's why Allah said we sent down to the Quran to explain to the people what has been sent down to them. So the explanation and the details we find in the Sunnah. That's the most clearest answer I could give. Wallahu a'lam. Anything else unclear about this topic? جزاكم الله خير. بارك الله.
ايوه في برير وفي نعم اي برير سمعتي نوم فيها ميران